By now, most people know that a new Snow White movie is coming out in 2024, and it was theorized that the movie will be an adaptation of the 1937 Disney animated film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But it seems that the new Snow White movie will be just a disaster. Since Disney announced the new movie, everyone wondered why they announced it in the first place, because who needs this movie? Nobody asked for a remake of the classic Snow White animated movie. Nobody. After they announced the movie, later on they announced that Rachel Zegler would be playing Snow White. And strangely enough, an American actress is the one who will be playing a character who's supposed to be a white European woman. And weirdly enough, the movie wouldn't have the Seven Dwarfs, and somehow the writer decided to write it out of existence. And the reasoning was that it was considered politically incorrect to give small people acting jobs. Apart from that, Rachel Zegler was spreading a lot of controversies about the movie, and people started disliking her because even before the release of the movie, Rachel Zegler has directed all of the focus on her love story in the movie. For now, it seems that Disney's approach to the making of this live-action movie remake has been bad to the point where even people who like Snow White will dislike this movie because they've stripped it of anything that would make it a true Snow White movie. Because if you think about it, Snow White is a love story about a young, beautiful girl who dreams about finding true love. And eventually, she finds it with her prince. But unfortunately, we live in a different age from the age when the original Snow White animated movie was released, where now most women in movies should act like they're independent and they don't need anybody in their lives, which doesn't exist in the original Snow White movie, where Snow White needed a man on her side in order to fulfill her life. So in a sense, Snow White isn't going to be Snow White in this movie. Another frustrating point about the movie Snow White is that Walt Disney has put more than $200 million into the making of this movie. Honestly, I can't think of a logical reason for why a Snow White live action movie will cost more than $100 million. And I think that such a high cost came into existence just because of poor management. Yes, it's safe to assume the movie would easily make $800 million in gross, but spending $200 million into making a Snow White movie is insanely expensive. I think the issue was that creative people weren't necessarily concerned about making money and profits. Disney made a mistake of letting directors and writers do whatever they want to do and no concern of how money is going to be spent. The more money this movie is going to cost, the more Disney will need to make just to break even without thinking of making profits. And just to let you know that $200 million is not the final cost, because there are still more costs that will come in when Disney will start the post-production process of the movie and when it starts the promotional campaign for the movie. So if we were to project the total cost of the movie, it's going to be around $300 million to make. It seems that Disney will make a loss with this movie because we already know that the writer went off the original story of Snow White. So even the nostalgic fans of the old Snow White will not be too interested to watch the live action movie. And if you don't already know what the script is going to be about, it's going to be about Snow White being depicted as a liberal socialist who leads a revolt against Gal Gadot's evil queen. And in this version of the movie, the people that will save Snow White will be called the bandits. And if you're wondering about the prince, there will not be a prince in this movie because Jonathan will be just a bandit. And the bandits are just the people who steal from the rich and give it to the poor. Back to Rachel Zegler. She's also seen as one of the problems that raises disinterest in the movie before it's even been released, because she didn't have a single positive word about the upcoming live action movie or the original animated movie. She blatantly came out and said that because Snow White was made in 1937, it was therefore completely outdated and a complete trash movie. And she even came out saying that she watched Snow White once as a child and never watched it again up until she was cast in the remake. Just imagine that she refused to admit that the original Snow White movie was a good movie, knowing that it was the best animated movie in Disney history. The least that she could have done is give out some elements that she didn't like about the movie. But no, she trashed the whole thing without giving any reason. That's the biggest problem with the upcoming Snow White movie. Rachel Zegler is leading with negativity when promoting the movie because we see it time after time now with countless controversial comments about Snow White. You cannot be serious and talk about all the problems that the original movie had, or all the problems that society has, or fandom culture has, or whatever it may be. She's leading with so much negativity, and she talks about everything that she hates and everything that she wants to attack. During all this Snow White catalyst, Disney CEO Bob Iger has released a statement saying that he told Disney that he doesn't want to be involved in politics anymore and thinks that Disney should avoid this political culture war. And he's also realized that Disney has been way too politically focused within their movies and needs to get back to honoring the audience and actually listening to their fan base. And this is insane because I would have never expected this type of message to come out from Disney. Coming off the back of a huge controversy around Snow White, Rachel Zegler's comments around the original Snow White, and also what she's claimed this Snow White remake is about, which seems to be anything but the actual Snow White story. If just Disney stuck to the original source material of Snow White, they could have avoided a lot of backlash. The remaining thing to be seen in the future of Rachel Zegler Zegler's career, she will certainly struggle to get roles in the future because of the backlash she's getting now and all the hate she's gotten herself into. Keep in mind that everyone saw how she trashed her own movie, so I doubt producers would trust her in the future. Whatever the outcome she will get in the future, I think that the other actors should learn a lesson from her and never trash their own movies and stories. Hopefully, Disney doesn't get a huge loss with the Snow White movie, and if they do, it was because of their own fault.